Hi guys, this is Klazart with another audio commentary, and this time I'm commentating on set 2 of the best of 3 matchup. This is the World Cyber Games Korean qualifiers, round of 24 between July and TheRock. And TheRock has already received a humiliating spanking on Andromeda, and this is Othello, a map that certainly July has shown himself to be more prolific on and much more comfortable on in dealing with his Protoss opponents. And really, he's just looked in unshakable form right now, and I'm really excited to see what July will come up with next season in the OSL and hopefully also in the MSL. Thankfully, it's been the case, and somehow I feel sorry for Protoss players, because certainly for Zerg fans, it's always been the case that there's always been someone to champion their cause, whether it was Savior or then Jaedong, and now back to July, and before that it was July, there was Gorush for a short time as well. There's always been someone. Inevitably, the Terran players also, Terran fans also have had someone to champion their cause, but Protoss players have suffered, unfortunately. So just starting positions here, TheRock putting Protoss in blue, starting up at the 5 o'clock position, July at the 6:30 position. Unfortunately for TheRock, he's scouting completely in the wrong direction, while July is going to scout in the correct direction, and he's actually going to see that Rock has put his Paladin next to his National Expo, and July is going to be in prime position. If he does go for a 9 pool again, he's going to be in prime position to inflict some damage, because TheRock is going to have to circumnavigate the entire map before he reaches July's base. But the fact that he has scouted quite early, we did see the last time when TheRock didn't really find anything with his first probe, he did eventually send a second probe out to scout as well, so he would have seen July, even if it was at the very least, he'll have an idea where July's base is. July this time has produced another Overlord, so he's not going for a 9 pool to say the least, but looks like he might be putting his spawning pool down, or whether he's going to take an expansion. So looks like July has actually gone for the expansion this time, so looks like July is going for possibly a 12 hatchery here, and July sending the drone out. So it looks like July has gone for the 12 hatchery, so TheRock, even though he's not going to get the scout early on, he shouldn't be too bothered. The only difference is that if he hadn't seen that, he would have probably put the Nexus down before the Forge, and by now he's probably already started his Forge, and he has indeed, and his Forge is almost complete. July holding that Overlord back from out of the range of the pylon. Now that the Forge is complete, and really TheRock has actually scouted his base, now July moves the Overlord further in. July's now put his spawning pool down as well, and we could probably expect him to see him put the hatchery down. So in this regard, TheRock probably is not going to have a huge advantage in terms of his economy like we saw him get. At least at the start, he had a little bit of an advantage on the first game, and some interest in Korean fangirls, not as shy as your usual fangirls would be expected to be, and I guess that's a welcome change, although the shyness of the fangirls is something that's quite endearing about Korean StarCraft fans. Anyway, July's spawning pool almost up, so TheRock putting his Nexus down, probably going to put a Photon Cannon down next. The key thing here is that because, unfortunately for TheRock, and this is how Scout can play such a part in terms of luck, TheRock actually putting his gateway down, the key thing here is that because TheRock had to circumnavigate the entire map to scout, by the time he got to July's base, he couldn't be sure whether or not July got for the early spawning pool. And because July is the kind of player who is unpredictable, who can do anything and surprise you, who can 7 pool or 4 pool or 5 pool, and you just don't know what he's doing, you've got to get that scout in and put that Forge down before you take that Nexus. Otherwise, you're going to get caught off guard. And remember, wasn't it on Othello that July 7 pooled? And even though his opponent had, I believe, the Forge down first, he still couldn't defend, and he still was forced to cancel actually his National Expo, I believe. TheRock now putting the Photon Cannon down for defense, and July's taken his off Expo around the 9 o'clock position. So July, I think, is going to be in a stronger position in this game than he to start with in this game than he was in the previous game. And July's got 2 Overlords now hovering over the rock space and really needs to move them away. It's surprising for me that the Photon Cannon is almost up, and July hasn't still moved the Overlords away, and I'm not sure why he's choosing to do that. Maybe he's going to try and absorb some cannon hits from the Overlords initially to try and get those Zerglings through, but unfortunately TheRock put pay to that, and that's what he was trying to do. The clever maneuver by July, unfortunately not paying off for him, could have been a pin play if it had worked, bringing both his Overlords in to try and absorb hits from the Photon Cannon and try and sneak that first batch of Zerglings through. And had he gone for a 9 pool, he might have actually been able to put it up, but obviously TheRock would have gone for the Photon Cannons earlier, so actually I'm talking crap. He wouldn't have actually done that. Meanwhile, TheRock's got his Assimilator up. July has got his 3 hatchery build going. He's going to be in a strong position economically, and this time we're seeing the Assimilator go down much earlier for TheRock, putting his Photon Cannon down. He's realizing that he needs to get that tech going ASAP. I'm not sure if July's taken his extractor. I think he probably has taken it in his main. I think I did see it go up, and July doing a good job this time of denying the scout to TheRock. He's ushered that probe away, and he's keeping it out of his National Expo as well as his base. TheRock doing his best to try and maneuver that probe around, and last time TheRock Rock did a great job of getting that probe into July's base and getting that scouting information, which is probably also part of what allowed him. I think he might have potentially have tried to go for DTs had he not seen that early spar from July and got a scout in July's base, although there's no guarantee of that. And it'll be interesting to see if TheRock decides to go for a similar build this time around. Othello is a map that it can be potentially more difficult for the Zerg player to defend, especially in the positioning of the bases. And so it is a map where you could effectively use the DTs to harass the Zerg opponent. Stargate going down for TheRock. July's got an Overlord sitting on top of his base, and July once again going for the spar first. This time that spar is going to be undetected by TheRock, and again it'll be interesting to see, and this is something that July has consistently done, putting that spar down first. And I think it's a great adaptation to the way Protoss players fast expand. I think it's a great adaptation. Too many Zerg players, in my humble opinion, or I guess there's nothing humble about it, but far too many. This time TheRock has managed to circumnavigate that probe around the south. July, I'm sure, is going to bring his Zerglings around and cut that probe off before it can get any meaningful scouting information. He's doing that. He's got a group of about 8 Zerglings there, and he should be able to intercept this probe. And that probe is going to get taken. TheRock almost managed to sneak that probe past the Zerglings, but now it gets caught against the cliffside and gets taken out. So TheRock, valiant in his attempts to get that scout, and unfortunately unable to do so. And I think too many Zergs these days surrender the initiative to the Protoss opponent, surrender air superiority. And this time TheRock is putting on the robotics facility first of all, and he's not actually gone for the Citadel of Adon. So we are going to see Corsair Reaver possibly from TheRock. July managed to sneak a couple of Zerglings through, trying to get that scout into TheRock's base. He did have the Overlord there, so I'm not sure what the purpose is. He's hopefully, maybe he's going to try and do a little bit of damage to TheRock's economy. He managed to sneak a small group of Zerglings through. I'm not sure if that was really worth it for July, because he's actually picking up the probes, and this is careless by TheRock. He needs to micro a little bit better here. He's lost one of the probes mining his gas. It's not going to hurt him too much. And I think TheRock will probably take that exchange. He managed to kill about 6 to 8 Zerglings there of July's, and July only managed to get a single pair of Zerglings in, and TheRock seems to have dealt with it quite comfortably. And TheRock careless here. He's got a Dragoon there, and he wasn't mining gas for some time from his main. He had his 3 gas probes, or at least 2 of them, off, chasing off that Zergling, it would seem. So slight lapse of micro there by TheRock. July's now got the Mutalisk out, and I'm not sure if TheRock actually has got anything to defend in this main. I don't think I saw a photon cannon go down in Rock's main. And July, maybe with those Zerglings, has just distracted Rock enough. Okay, he's got 1 photon cannon down. He's only got the single Stargate though. He's got a couple of courses in play, and that natural expo of Othello, the natural expo, is very amenable to harass from just above behind that cliff. And July is not going to mind taking the occasional photon cannon hit. TheRock has got his Courser's position as well, but July's now got the Scourge coming out, and he might be able to use those Mutalisks as a shield. And July trying to do what we saw Hyuk do in the Pro League, trying to use the Mutalisks, trying to hide those Scourges, unable to do so this time. And he actually manages to catch one of the Coursers, and July takes out one of the Coursers. He's now going to be able to take the photon cannon down in TheRock's main. TheRock has only got a single Courser left because he lost one of the Coursers, and July is not going to bother about the hits coming from the Dragoon. That Courser is going to go down, trying to buy himself some time to negate, to get the photon cannons up. But unfortunately, that photon cannon that he did manage to get up is out of range from the rear of the mineral, and July is able to pound away at those probes at Rock's main, and July is just going to be able to deal devastating damage to Rock. This is a crippling blow to TheRock's economy. He's not even trying to pull those probes off the line. He's just allowing July, just trying to use that single Dragoon to actually try and defend against those probes, and it's hopeless for him. He's managed to get another Courser out, but that Courser is wounded as well. Finally, he gets a photon cannon up, but July has killed at least, I would say, 10 probes almost, as well as a couple of Coursers, and TheRock really taking massive damage there from July's attack, and July has crippled Rock entirely, and I think that TheRock almost seems to have given up. He doesn't seem to be trying anymore, because he just left his probes there. Surely he could have moved them to his natural expo, or at least pull them off the line for a second to allow those photon cannons time to warp in, while he had the cover of the Dragoon and the other photon cannon and the Corsairs. And really TheRock now is in terrible trouble. And July, once again, how many Protoss players have we seen do this effectively against how many Zerg players have we seen do this effectively against a Protoss player who fast expands and gets those Corsairs out? Not very many. July, on the other hand, because of his outrageous, insane micro, is able to do just that, and now he's going to be barring down TheRock's door, because while he was keeping TheRock busy and pounding his economy down, he's managed to get his hardness den up, and he's got a significant ground force to back up, and TheRock has got nothing. He's nowhere near getting those Reavers out. July's just going to use the Mutalisk. He's actually going to sacrifice the Mutalisk to actually absorb the damage from the photon cannons and the Dragoons initially, and as well as do some additional damage, and now the photon cannons are down, and TheRock's got nothing to defend, and his He's got a single Dragoon there. That Dragoon gets taken out. And July with his Hydralisk now pounding away at TheRock. TheRock using the probes to try and keep those items out. But July is now hammering away at the gateway as well. TheRock has managed to get the robotic support bay out, but it's just a question of how long it will take for the Reaver to pop and then for the Reaver to get the Scarab up. And by that time, July would undoubtedly deliver. And I'm surprised that July isn't sending more reinforcements in the form of the rest of his Hydralisk. I guess he is anticipating. He's got a Scourge's position as well in case TheRock is to get a shuttle out. And that's the other problem. TheRock might have actually queued a shuttle in his robotics facility rather than the Reaver, though that would have been kind of silly of him considering how much angst he was under. But the Mutalist might have forced him to do the shuttle. But anyway, the Reaver is still not out, and this is hopeless for TheRock. So TheRock is going to lose 2-0 to July. A couple of Corsairs getting taken out by the Scourges. Excuse me, July delivering the finish blow. This is the finishing blow. The Reaver's out. It doesn't even get a single Scarab off. And this is going to be GG right here. July wrapping it up in time for an early snack.
정말 선적 관계 이거 벗어날 수가 없나요? 늪같이 안기호 선수의 발목을 붙잡습니다.
그렇죠. 첫 경기에서 워낙 상대방의 실력에 대해서 인정할 수밖에 없는 경기를 하다 보니까 안기호 선수 두 번째 경기에서 주눅이 들었었고 정말 박성준 선수는 프로토스에게 있어서는 정말 악몽 그 자체네요.
네, 그리고 뒤에 경기 박성준 선수, 안기호 선수의 경기는 박성준 선수가 안기호 선수를 상대로 2대 0이라는